Welcome to Phantastic Physics. I have a giant space-time simulator behind me, and I'm going to use this to demonstrate how gravity actually works according to Albert Einstein. And remember, Einstein says that gravity is not a force, it's warps and curves in the fabric of space-time. In the early 20th century, Albert Einstein told us that the three dimensions of space, so length, width, and height, are all linked together with the fourth dimension, which is time. So he called this four-dimensional fabric the fabric of space-time. And so I'm going to use this two-dimensional trampoline surface to replicate Einstein's vision of the four-dimensional space-time fabric that everything exists in. And so according to Albert Einstein, if you take a large mass like the Earth or another planet or the sun or any other star, and you put it in space, what it does is it bends the fabric of space-time around itself. So that means the three dimensions of space actually get warped and the dimension of time itself gets stretched out. And the larger the mass, the more it warps the space-time around itself. So the Earth warps space and time around itself a little bit, and of course the sun, having much more mass, will warp space and time to a much larger degree. So you can see this trampoline surface has been warped and it's now curved due to the presence of this sun in our space-time simulator. According to Isaac Newton, gravity is a force that's caused by one mass, like this sun in the center of our solar system here, reaching out and grabbing and pulling on another mass with a force. And so Isaac Newton said, this is the force of gravity. It's an attractive force between two masses. But Einstein said, actually, the reason that this object would want to be attracted to this central object is not because there's a force reaching out and grabbing it, but because our simulated star in the center of the solar system is actually curving all the space-time around itself. And because this space is now curved, if I were to take a planet and just let it go, it would fall into the star and burn up. Now, of course, our solar system doesn't look like that. We don't have the Earth falling into the sun because, of course, that would be the end of all life on planet Earth. So instead, when our solar system was forming, all of the gas and debris started to coalesce into planets, and all of that stuff had velocity, so it was already in motion. And so because it's already in motion, it just follows the curvature of space-time and continues to orbit around the sun. Now, of course, this one still fell in. That's because there's friction between this ball and between our simulated fabric of space-time. And that friction is stealing energy and causing it to slowly but surely fall into the center, as you can see here. Now, of course, in our real solar system, the Earth and the other planets do not fall in because of the absence of friction in our solar system. So as long as you can remove that friction, whatever velocity the planet has, it will maintain and it will continue in its orbit around the star. So we have 8 planets in our solar system: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And if you're on Team Pluto like I am, you would say there are 9 planets. But of course, Pluto got demoted into a planetoid, so it's no longer considered a planet, and I won't get into why that is. So if you want to build out a full solar system in the simulator, it's really quite easy. You just start throwing your planets in, and they will follow the curve of space-time and continue to orbit the sun. And that's really cool to see them all go together. Now, these marbles are a lot smaller, and so there's a lot less friction between them and the surface, so they stay in orbit for a little bit longer, and you can see they're all orbiting together. Now, in our solar system, it's weird because all of the planets actually orbit in the same direction, and they all orbit on the same plane. So they all orbit like this. There aren't really any that go out of orbit into a different plane. Pluto does, but remember, we don't really call it a planet anymore. So isn't that strange that all the planets orbit along the same plane, flat, together, and all in the same direction? So why is that? Well, the reason is, in the beginning, when this solar system was forming, remember, everything was coalescing and all this debris was orbiting the sun, and some of it was going counterclockwise, some was going clockwise. They were going in all different planes and all different dimensions, but all of that stuff going in different directions, eventually it started colliding with each other. So some of the planets started hitting each other and they would be demolished, and what was left over was the material moving in the dominant dimension. So it turns out that more stuff just happened to be going this way, in this direction, and after all the collisions were said and done, what remained was everything moving in this dimension. Now remember, the sun is the largest object in our solar system, so it's going to bend space-time around itself more than any of the planets that orbit it. And that's actually the reason why everything orbits the sun, because its gravitational pull, due to its curvature in space-time, is just the greatest, okay? Now, of course, the Earth itself, which I'll represent with this smaller marble, also does bend space and time around itself to a smaller degree, and that bend in space-time created by the Earth is enough to keep the moon orbiting around it. So you can demonstrate that by taking two smaller marbles, one is bigger than the other, and tossing them into the simulator, and watch as the moon orbits the Earth. So you can see that little marble is going around the larger steel marble. Let me see if I can get a better throw here. Oh, okay, there you go. You can kind of see it. So the small one going around the big one. Let's try one more time. So there you can see it's orbiting a little bit. Let's try another. Ooh, that's a good one. Now this is one of my favorite demos with the space-time simulator. So I'm going to show what's called a free return trajectory, also known as a gravitational slingshot. So in 1969, when we did our first manned moon mission, we sent the Apollo 11 crew out to the moon. They stayed in orbit around the moon while the lunar lander went to the surface. Then they went back up to their ship and got a free ride home, taking advantage of the moon's gravitational warp in space-time. So check this out. This is called a gravitational slingshot. If you hit the trajectory just right, when that ship goes out to the moon, it's taking advantage of that curve in space-time created by the moon to get a free slingshot home. And so you don't actually have to burn up any fuel to get back home. Now, of course, if I hit the trajectory wrong, they're going to crash, right? So you hit it just right, and there's that perfect gravitational slingshot. Pretty cool, huh? Over 100 years ago, Einstein made a very bold prediction. I believe it was the year 1916, if I'm not mistaken. And he said that if there's a massive disturbance in the fabric of space-time due to something like a supernova or two black holes that are caught in each other's orbit and crashing together, or maybe two neutron stars that orbit each other and crash, he said some kind of massive disturbance in space-time would cause waves to ripple out in all directions, and he called those gravitational waves. So he said that those gravitational waves travel through the fabric of space-time at the speed of light, and if some event happened in the distant universe, eventually those waves would ripple through planet Earth and cause the Earth to actually contract and expand, right? So the entire Earth would ripple due to that space-time wave passing through us. So the way I'm going to demonstrate gravitational waves for you is I have this drill gun with this piece of wood attached, and I'm going to basically pull the trigger. It's going to spin, and I have two wheels, so one here and one here. And as it spins around, these two wheels are going to replicate two black holes or two neutron stars that are caught in each other's orbit, and just that massive disturbance in gravity caused by an event like that will cause waves to ripple out. So I'm going to get under this trampoline and do it from the bottom, and you're going to see those waves ripple in all directions. And what we'll probably do is slow the footage down so you can very clearly see these gravity waves that were predicted by Einstein over 100 years ago and were confirmed using LIGO, the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. There's actually a few of them throughout the world, and in 2016 they observed the first confirmation of gravitational waves. I think it's time to get underneath this trampoline and make some gravitational waves. Observe carefully. And there you have it, gravitational waves, according to Albert Einstein over 100 years ago. They do exist, they've been detected and proven. So now what have we learned today? We learned that large masses in space will cause the fabric of space-time to curve around themselves. That results in other smaller objects getting caught in those curves, which creates an orbit, and orbits will continue due to the lack of friction in space. We also learned about free return trajectories, or gravitational slingshots, and we know about gravitational waves that were predicted by Einstein over 100 years ago. Thank you for watching Phantastic Physics. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more interesting physics content. Goodbye for now, and remember, it's a fantastic universe out there, so stay curious.